It happens, and this is one of those things that you set an intention to do it daily, and then over time it gets easier to do it every day because it's a building thing, you know. It's like you don't start day one being able to construct an entire building. You got to learn how to put down the foundation first. You know, the foundation really is the breath. And man, mantras, as far as anxiety goes, mantras are super powerful. So it's kind of, I'm not surprised that you've been more like, I've practiced that, I've stayed away from this. It's like, that makes sense, so we're good. And a lot of times your body or your mind tells you, which, you know, minds talk a lot. Not every message they give us is of value though, but sometimes the things that we shouldn't do, it speaks very clearly. Like with breath of fire, it can make anxiety worse. Yeah, so can you breathe into your diaphragm? Can you do the full breath, like inhaling into the diaphragm, chest, throat, and then exhaling throat, chest, diaphragm? Do you have a fairly, just breathe naturally and like close your eyes and put one hand on your diaphragm and one on your chest and just see how the breath is going in and out.
I have been struggling a little bit to breathe in the diaphragm without doing the chest.
Yeah, that's hard for a lot of people. But if you breathe into the diaphragm first, can you get the breath into the diaphragm first and then fill the chest? Because that's more, the isolation is something that comes with time. It's not something that's gonna happen like instantly. Some people can do it day one, other people it could take a year, you know, especially if we're not very connected with our breath, which those of us with mental health issues tend to be less connected with our breath than the average human, just because like you do spend a lot of time in your head, you do spend a lot of time worrying about this, that, a lot of time just sort of, I don't know, lost, and it's, yeah. So that disconnects you from your breath, very much so, and I'm sure you've noticed.
When you say isolate to the diaphragm, you mean breathing in only there?
Yeah.
Without any of the rest of it?
Yeah.
I was able to do that a little bit, while very consciously focusing on it.
Cool, good. See, that focus that you were giving right there, that is something that anytime that you start to get really anxious or you start to get overwhelmed, just focus on your breath. Just go right there. And I know that I make it sound so cut and dry and so goddamn easy whenever it's in reality not that easy for most of us. But it is one of those things that as your mind triggers, you can sort of trigger the response, you know, to like go to your breath and try to just bring yourself back down, because we're very sick as a culture, and like some of us have it worse than others. And like, I don't know, I used to have fairly intense anxiety, and like I would have panic attacks pretty regularly, and I've managed to overcome it. And it's kind of like, now whenever I start to have, I still, you know, get anxiety, but it's like I can see it instantly and I can just sort of bring it down, or I'll just let it run its course. Like, all right, I gotta like be neurotic and just be a mess for a moment. That's okay. But you learn to kind of observe it, which is an interesting place to be. Whenever you can just kind of watch yourself being a mess, like which you'll hear the term conscious observer oftentimes. And yeah, you get to that state and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm paying attention to myself now. Weird.
I can like see myself being a bit of a mess, and when I'm, you know, worried about something and the thoughts just keep ramping up and trailing up, and it's always about things that we kind of can't know the answers to, like what happens after death.
Right.
You know, not being able to actually get answers for that. I've just found it very hard to keep it all tame, or maybe tame isn't the right word, but keep it.
Oh, tame is the right word, definitely. We're taming your mind. That's the thing that we do. Energy goes where attention flows. So that is one thing that meditation will help you with over time, is just overcoming those just mental patterns that you don't want. You know, there are meditations that are a little more advanced to like start to remove those thoughts. They're not something I'll teach to somebody in your situation, because it's not, yeah, you're just not ready, you know, you need more experience just with the basics. But yeah, you're in the right place, and I know that in time this will help you. Just requires discipline on your end, like sitting down and doing it, and make an intention to do it every day. I'm sure you have the time. You know, it's just, do you have a space in your house that you can kind of clear and like get solitude and have like just at least a corner you can look towards that is like free of clutter?
I do a bit. I not too bad about that. That would be a good space.
Okay. Yeah, get a little space cleared just to, and you know, one way that I track myself, or at least I did in the beginning when I was really building up my discipline, was I just had a wall calendar and I'd mark it every time I did my sadhana, which sadhana means spiritual discipline, which, you know, it's funny. I used to be such a, back whenever I was teaching you flow arts, it was like, you said the word spiritual to me and I would have been and like, here I am. But yeah, just find a way to track it. That way that, you know, you can be like, hey, you know, I've done it. And if you miss a day, don't judge yourself. Like that is another key thing to this is like we work on ourselves and not judge where we're at and not judge what the results are and just do it. And, you know, like with time, we get this level of awareness, which learning to control the breath. I left a piece of paper with you, like the blue piece, which is under the thing. It's what we're going to do today. It's just some basics, which, you know, really learning to control your breath is going to be the first step in you controlling your mind. So stick with the breath work. I will send you Nadi Shodhana, which we're going to practice today, and it is what I want you to do every day. Like, just period. Do it every day, regardless. If you put other practices on top of it, awesome, but Nadi Shodhana is a very, very great beginning sadhana. You know, whenever you start to have those mental shifts, just go to your breath. Like, just close your eyes for a second and just take a couple breaths. And you'll probably notice whenever your brain's like freaking out that your breath is really shallow, you're probably just breathing up here and not down here. And just, you know, consciously breathe into the diaphragm, chest, and then exhale, chest, diaphragm, and just get that. It's kind of like what was that movie where like, woo-saw, you know, woo-saw. One way to help stress response, sometimes it intentionally triggers it, is holding the breath in and out. Anytime that we do this, we don't want to squeeze, you know? I mean, there are points where we squeeze, but whenever we're just practicing getting the control, we're not squeezing. And anytime that you're stopping the breath, we're not squeezing the airway, you're just pausing. You know, a lot of people, they have a tendency to inhale, hold, and they're just like squeezing their throat and closing it, but that's not necessary. You can literally just stop the breath. You know, people, but you know how we are in the West, we're like, gotta overemphasize everything and make it extreme. And
Like people holding their breath and going underwater or something.
yeah,
It's
which,
typical image when you see someone do that.
yeah, which, you know, I think even the people that are holding their breath for a long time underwater, they're not squeezing off their throat. They're likely just stopping the breath. Like, it's a very just subtle thing. A lot of these practices are subtle. Some of them are not, but many of them are. Let's go ahead and tune in. It's the first mantra on top of the sheet. It's Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. The R's are kind of like D's, Guru. Whenever you say them, your tongue will bounce off the upper palate of your mouth, and it's
Like
Guru. Yeah, very similar, but it's like only the first rule. You know, we're not going beyond it. Working all day. Let's bring the palms together and rub them. Eyes closed. Chin parallel to the earth. Press the base of your thumbs to heart center. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale. We're going to sing it today. Inhale to begin. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. 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 Inhale. Just pause the breath for a moment. Eyes closed. Exhale slow and controlled. Inhale for the Mangala Charan. It's the second mantra on the sheet. It's Adgare Name. Just repeat after me. Adgare Name.
Adgare Name.
Jugadgare Name.
Jugadgare Name.
Satgare Name.
Satgare Name.
Siri Guru Deve Name.
Siri Guru Deve Name.
We just really hum along until we get it. It's handy having the words in front of us to look at, though. Inhale. Adgare Name. Jugadgare Name. Satgare Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Adgare Name. Jugadgare Name. Satgare Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Adgare Name. Jugadgare Name. Satgare Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Adgare Name. Jugadgare Name. Satgare Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Adgare Name. Jugadgare Name. Satgare Name. Siri Guru Deve Name. Yeah.
While memorizing, it's not bad or anything to, I guess, just open my eyes and look to confirm like what I'm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just while I'm memorizing it, because that was one thing with the first one. Was even though it's not very long, it did take a minute to memorize to where I could just have my eyes closed and consistently
Do it.
repeat the same.
Oh yeah, look at the sheet as much as you need to. It's part of the process. I've learned some of the more complicated mantras, and what I've done is just recorded it or listened to other people singing it and just listen to it on repeat for hours upon hours upon hours, and occasionally looking at a sheet, and then it drills into your head and it's stuck into your head for like a month. But you know what? That's better than other things being stuck in your head for a month. So what?
It's definitely true.
Yep. You know, at worst, it's like you have something in your head that is the Ong Namo Guru Dev Namo is asking for guidance from the teacher that's within you. And the Adgare Name is just a call out for protection from the four directions. So they're both like mantras of guidance and protection. And that's why we tune in with them. That way we're just sitting down, setting an intention. And you know, it's interesting because if I sit down and I do those mantras, I instantly feel a shift because like my brain is trained to know whenever I do this, I'm going to do yoga, and it's like, yay, you're going to take care of me. I'm like, yes, I am, sir. So there are 3 bandhas, which bandha means lock. There are 3 major ones that we work with in yoga. They are Jalandhar Bandh, Mole Bandh, and Uddiyana Bandh, which those are big words. But ultimately, neck lock, diaphragm lock, root lock. Which root lock, there's actually 3 parts to root lock. 1, we are squeezing our anus. 2, we are squeezing our sex organs. 3, we are squeezing our navel center, which is 4 fingers under our belly button, just about. So anytime a cue for engage mole bandh or squeeze root lock is called for, you squeeze like you're holding in urine, like you're stopping gas, and just right under the belly button, pull in a little bit, and that is your root lock. We have a tendency to squeeze our buttocks, to squeeze our lower back, to squeeze more than we need to here. We're really just working to isolate the internal muscles. So this is very much so start light, don't, just really start with a light pull, and over time it gets stronger. And what this does is in time, it helps move cerebral spinal fluid up your spine, and this is one thing that leads to what they call a Kundalini awakening, which is essentially your brain starting to function at a higher level and you becoming like hyper aware.
I know that definitely not something that's like expectable early on in stuff.
Some people,
Something I've heard about that I am very interested in.
some people have it suddenly. Some people will have it happen very fast, and it's traumatic oftentimes whenever it happens suddenly. This is when having a teacher is useful.
I've also heard that it can be very unsettling for some people.
Yep.
Or that may just be the nature of it in general.
It can be pleasant, it can be blissful. It's not always pretty though. I was a meditator, and mine was still pretty interesting to say the least. I was a mess. I was a complete mess. And it was okay. Like, I was okay with it. I was completely aware of what I was going through, but it was like years worth of compressed emotions just came out of me, like all at once, and it lasted about a month, and it was just like this crazy outpour of crying and just like sadness and happiness and sadness and happiness. I was just like riding this train of like up and down, and all of it felt really good though, but I was like, yeah, I was just raw.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's something that can really be put too much into words, but I did want to ask kind of what it's like, but it is probably something you have to experience to get in any way too much.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words for sure. It's everybody's experience is a little bit different. Some people, like one person I've worked with before, theirs was like they were just blissful. They were in this state of euphoria, throughout the beginning of it. One thing to know about it too is like you have this extreme up, but then there is a down, and eventually you kind of come off that cloud. And whenever you come off the cloud, some people get really disheartened and they step away from the practice, or they just like, oh, well, it don't feel as good as I did, or it's not as like intense as it was, so why would I continue to do this? And it's like, the reason you continue to do this is so you can sustain that level of awareness. That is pretty much the end goal of yoga and meditation, is A, to be able to quiet the mind, and B, to be able to be a fully functioning human being.
I did want to ask if when people have that, if it's something that does just go away, and if it's something that you achieve like multiple times in the practice, or if it's something that the goal is maybe like you were saying, or maybe I'm not understanding right, to achieve that kind of, I don't know what to call it, level, for lack of a better term, on a consistent basis.
I mean, some people can keep it consistent. I think for a lot of us, it's an up and down game. Like we hit that point. Like I go to the point where I really feel it flowing, and then I have points where I don't. I think part of that is like I have so much life experience drilled into me that was before this practice that it's really hard to like completely unwire your past. It's just hard, for many of us, because we have these behaviors that are hardwired. We have these mental patterns that are hardwired, and it takes a really long time to rewire the brain, and sometimes not. Some people can like create new pathways really fast. You're younger than I was when I started, so maybe yours will do it faster. Like the younger you are, the more malleable your brain is, So, but yeah, most people, they have an awakening, and then they kind of come down off of it, and it levels out, and then they'll have points of going back up. But then in time, they'll stay awake. Like that is definitely something that is possible. It takes quite a bit of grit and discipline and consistency, which is something that I'm helping a few people with, is just develop their consistent practice and like what it looks like for them, and kind of helping them talk them through things whenever they hit blocks, because you're going to hit blocks, you're going to hit walls, you're going to have things come in front of you, but it doesn't have to be grueling work. It can be fun. And one way to keep it fun, find something that you really do enjoy, that whenever you sit down on the mat, that like, oh, this makes me feel good, and hold on to that. And also whenever you find points of resistance, address them. Like don't run away from them. Like really, okay, why am I resisting this? Is it, oh, I have a physical injury that's literally not letting me do it? Or is it something emotional is trying to come up? Because a lot of the times those walls, those points of resistance, are just a blockage that we have inside of ourselves, whether it is a trapped memory that doesn't want to come out, a suppressed emotion, something, and like we'll hit that wall, and it's like, you gotta stick your face up against it. Like, do I really want to push through this? And that's where the release comes. And until we're really freed from a lot of that just past crap, it's hard to have our awakening and keep it consistent because there's still stuff holding us back from the past, you know. So it's possible. I think some people it's easier than others. Some of us have had extremely traumatic lives, and that trauma can propel us, you know, but it also can block us. Like can be used as a tool for good or a tool for growth or a tool for destruction. And I think a lot of people start with it being destructive, but then in time want to flip that script to growth, which is hopefully what we're doing here. So yes, bandhas, back to that. So the first one, mole band, rectum, sex organs, navel, which a lot of times you'll hear people say squeeze mole band, rectum, sex organs, navel. Start light, don't squeeze too much on the external, go for the internal. Uddiyana band, which you only ever squeeze Uddiyana band when you're holding your breath out and mole band is already pulled, which is just squeezing your diaphragm. So it's literally just pulling in like on your diaphragm and kind of flexing that muscle. And Jalandhar band is neck lock. So with neck lock, your chin is parallel to the ground or tucked down a little bit, and we're pulling the chin back to really extend the back of the neck. You'll see some people all the way down here, some here, but the chin is at the very least parallel to the earth. We never want to be looking up. People tend to crash up, but that compresses the back of the neck and it's not going to let the energy flow. Anytime that, like, if you have a physical block or if you feel like you need to focus on something, a way to draw awareness to the body also is to touch it, you know? It's like people are like, well, here, you should be feeling this. And if you don't, just, you know, touch your knee. Or if you feel pain, like really feel around on it, see what's going on. Like maybe there's a knot there. Maybe your bone's hitting bone. Like that's a very good tool that a lot of people kind of forget. It's like, oh, like you can touch yourself. It's okay. But since you, we're going to do a little bit of breath of fire. This is something if you suffer from anxiety and if it starts to make you feel anxious, stop and just do long, deep breathing. Like anytime if you do start to have those feelings come up, it is absolutely okay to stop. It is absolutely okay to take a step back and just recenter yourself. Because sometimes, you know, those like practices can bring things up that we are not ready to deal with. And that's part of what anxiety is just suppressed memories, suppressed emotions, like exhibiting themselves in a very just, I don't know, I don't want to say unhealthy because it just is what it is, but it doesn't feel good. I know that. I know that with all my heart. So let's actually bring our arms out to our sides, palms up. And with breath of fire, we're pumping the diaphragm. When we inhale, it comes out. Exhale, we're just squeezing in, just overemphasize squeezing in on the whole belly. We'll start with our tongue out, panting like a dog. We're going for equal inhale to the exhale.
You said the thing about squeezing in, you're saying that's when you exhale?
Yeah, when you exhale, you're really just squeezing in. So it's like, this is what it looks like for me. Which, having it that clean, takes time. We're only going to do it for a minute and a half. And this is one thing, though, even if it does trigger your anxiety, you know, occasionally, it's really good for strengthening your diaphragmatic connection. So it is a very powerful breath. I would just say that, like, if it does tend to trigger your anxiety, maybe do it after you've done a bit of practice and really grounded yourself and try it at different times. So if it does happen to trigger your anxiety, don't start with it. If it's cued in the middle of an exercise and you're already feeling a little fluttered, don't do it. Like, just skip it. Just do long, deep breathing. Like that.
And I was going to ask, if it does trigger anxiety, is it bad to keep going? Like, if you decide
if you want to,
anxiety is okay or whatever? Or is that something that leads to something bad?
That's going to be your experience. I can't say what that's going to do. Like, it's going to really, that's one thing about yoga. Do you know what the word yoga means? Union. It is to, or yoke, which yoke like binding of an ox, right? Like the things that they put on oxen. And it essentially connects you to you. It unites you with you. It takes the lowercase self to the higher case self. And so a lot of these things, like what you're going to experience, I can't tell you. And if it feels right to press through the anxiety, sure, do it, you know. And if at worst you have an anxiety attack, it throws you into panic and you know not to do that again, you learn, you know. But maybe it could help you overcome your anxiety pressing through it. I can't say for sure. Like I can say that I have never had it bring up anxiety in me, so I can't tell you what's going to happen. And I also have not had any students like report back to me that it has, but I know that it is something that in every book that I see it related on that it says a contradiction is anxiety. So if you have anxiety, be mindful. So I'm just going off what the masters say. But yeah, arms out to the side, eyes closed, stick the tongue out, we'll pant like a dog, equal inhale, exhale. Once you get a good rhythm, close the eyes and breathe through the nose. If it starts to feel unequal, just take a deep, long breath and come back to it. Inhale, pause, bring your hands together, heart center. Exhale, hold the breath out, engage up on that root lock, rectum, sex organs, navel. Inhale, exhale. Relax the hands down, palms up on the knees. Just do a quick check-in. Which check-ins are just looking inward, feeling your body, noticing if your mind's running wild, and learning to just look without judgment, without reaction. If the mind starts to wander, if thoughts come up, don't respond to them. Let them fly by. And one thing we can say to ourselves when it's happening is, I will have no thoughts, which is still the mind, but it's the mind trying to control the mind, which is, yeah.
Still having fun.
Yeah, you know, we that's where mantras come in handy, which in Kundalini Yoga, the mantra that we use to help train the mind to center is Sat Nam. So when we inhale, we're mentally vibrating Sat. Exhale, we're mentally vibrating Nam, which means truth is my name, truth is my identity. It is Sat Nam. So as we inhale, mentally vibrate Sat. Exhale, mentally vibrate Nam. And in time, it just really helps. It helps keep your brain focused while we're practicing. It's also something I've had people tell me that, yeah, I pretty much Sat Nam 24 hours a day now. It's like, that's cool, you know, it kind of makes life a practice. So yeah, that was Breath of Fire. It's kind of one of my favorite breaths. I like it.
To clarify the breath up here, just very quickly, inhaling into and exhaling from the diaphragm.
Yeah. So I mean, essentially, like, You'll see it also taught where you're just forcing the air out and then relaxing the diaphragm and a little bit of air comes in, but that's a very it's a very fast breath. That's a little bit more advanced, but other schools of yoga, they will start off with it that way and then they'll expect people to just get it instantly, I think. But yeah, it's really good to get that equality of breath, and with time, speed comes. I usually start people off with about a 1 second inhale, 1 second exhale, so just... And if you ever wonder if you're really engaging your diaphragm, just bring a hand to it and check your breathing, because then you'll really know. Cool. So we're going to do calm heart meditation, which this is a practice of A, slowing the breath down, B, holding the breath in, C, holding the breath out. And again, whenever we're holding the breath in, we're not squeezing, we're just pausing. We're holding the breath out, we're just pausing. And don't ever fill up to maximum or into maximum. With time, you kind of naturally end up like filling up all the way and exhaling all the way. But in the beginning, it is good to just, fill up to where it's comfortable, pause, and then just hold as long as you can until your body's like, all right, dude, and then exhale slowly, and then pause, and then hold it. And with time, it extends. And this really helps with aerobic capacity and really helps with, just really training your mind to breathe consciously. We will do this for a full 5 minutes. So bring your left hand over your heart center. So heart center is right in the middle of the chest, above the sternum.
I was going to say, when you say heart center, you mean like...
It's like right here.
You mean the center spot, like the center of the rib cage?
Yeah, okay, so this is solar plexus. This is your third chakra, or third chakra, Manipota. Your fourth chakra is heart, which is right here, Anahata. It's pretty much right in the middle of your sternum, right in the middle of your chest, which directly underneath it is the thymus gland, which is extremely valuable for immunofunction. Which I was cleaning today and I found a wall chart for human anatomy that has giant pictures of the skeletal system, the endocrine system. I'm like, this is gonna be handy when I'm teaching. But yeah, I just found it today. So yeah, heart center, just right over the middle of the chest. And then right hand will be in Gyan Mudra, fingers pointing up, palm facing forward, and just right at your side. So draw, yeah, there you go. Close the eyes. Let's inhale, slow and deep. Hold the breath. Don't squeeze anything, we're just stopping. And when you need to, you exhale slowly, consciously. Hold the breath out at the bottom. Mentally vibrating Sat as you inhale and Nam as you exhale.
On this bit, do you breathe strictly in the diaphragm or the chest too?
Whole breath. And if it ever gets really uncomfortable, just take a reset breath. Always, if things feel out of whack, just reset, pause for a moment. Inhale, exhale. 2 more. And relax the hands down. Feel free to adjust your hips if you need. I'm sure they're like, why have you been sitting this long? Which a good little in-between is bringing your feet flat in front of you and just rocking your knees side to side slowly. Drop your hands behind you for stability. Call these windshield wipers. Definitely an ancient yogic term. We'll come back. So we're going to do Nadi Sadhana, which this is an excellent first sadhana. I'm sitting on my heels. If it's comfortable for you to sit on your heels, feel free. I'm sitting like this. This is a very easy pose for me, though. It's not easy for everyone.
How much does the pose matter for?
It's just, so the more comfortable you are, the easier it is to meditate. So if you can get comfortable in this position, great. If it's something that you cannot do very easily, it's something to practice, which one thing you can do is put a cushion in between your legs and your feet, or you can put a cushion under your feet. And one of those two may make it easier, or you can be up on your toes in more of a toe squat, or you can put a cushion in between your legs, and that makes it more like celibate pose, which everybody's different. For me, this is my easiest sitting posture. I can sit like this for hours.
Does it need to be a pose where you're on your knees in general?
No, I'm just going here because I need to not sit cross-legged anymore. So if this isn't comfortable for you, then we can address that in the future. So yes, Nadi Sadhana. It is alternate nostril breathing. We're going to do the second variation just because we're in a room together and I can actually like time it to where it's proper. But for all intents and purposes, Nadi Sadhana 1 is where you start. So Nasagata Mudra, first 2 fingers of your right hand together. Press right into the third eye center, so right in between, at the top of the nose and between the eyebrows. Eyes are closed, cross them up and in, and look towards that center. Anytime we're putting external pressure on an area, it's an opportunity to really focus on it.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the part that I'm doing after?
Yeah, we're just crossing the eyes up and in and looking towards it. So if that's not very comfortable, it's something to practice. This is Agya or Ajna. And then left hand, index finger and thumb tip touch, palm up on the knee. And we're going to be closing off the left nostril with the ring finger and the right nostril with the thumb alternately. I will cue whenever I say switch, you switch nostrils and exhale. So I will cue an inhale, you inhale slowly. And then whenever I cue to switch, you release the one nostril, close off the other, and then exhale, okay? Cool. So let's take one deep breath together with both free. Inhale. That'll be the right. Exhale. Close the left. Inhale. Switch. 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 Relax the hand. Inhale. Exhale.
Relax both hands.
Yeah. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. That breath is to balance the Ida and the Pingala, which are the two major nadis, which are energy channels that run through our bodies. Ida is moon, Pingala is sun, I believe. I might have this backwards as far as the words go, but left side is cooling, relaxation. Right side is sun, Surya, it's fire. One thing, if you're ever really just needing to relax and calm down, if you can, close off your right nostril and just breathe long and deep through your left side. And this has a very calming effect. One of the first homeworks that we had in my teacher training was pay attention to which nostril is dominant throughout the day. And you'll notice when you're active, your right side is. When you're relaxing, your left side is most of the time. It kind of switches back and forth. So that breath is designed to balance to where you're breathing evenly through both. And they say, well, Sushumna, which I'm sure you've seen that diagram with like the two things doing like that, and then the one up the center.
Probably. I don't know if I know exactly the one you're thinking of, but
Yeah,
it's general kind of assembly. I think I do get what you're saying.
Yeah, so that is, even in the healthcare like symbol that they use, it is literally the two major nadis, Ida and Pingala. They go like this through you. And then Sushumna is that middle, the middle one. Oh, I can never talk after that breath because it just like clear. And ultimately, you balance those other two, and then you balance Sushumna, and that's whenever you experience the Kundalini awakening. That is like energy piercing through all of them, all of the chakras, which, you know, on a physical level is things are happening to you like chemically, but there's also energetic movement, there's also emotional movement, there's also like spiritual movement, whatever you want to call it. It's a combination of things. It's your physical, your emotional, your energetic, and your like mental bodies all kind of working together. So as far as postures go, have you done much physical yoga?
I have never done any, actually.
Any ever?
Something I had heard is that Kundalini is probably not the best place to start if you haven't done any yoga, but I kind of disregarding that.
So definitely our next session, I'm going to want to be in person, because our next session, we're going to go over a bunch of postures, okay? And I'm just going to really check your body and watch you. I'm going to guide you into things. I'm going to look at you and kind of tell you what to be mindful of. That way we can work together online, so you don't have to worry about a ride so much. Because like I know that probably stresses you out a little bit. And one thing, never worry about it. If things don't work out and you can't come to me, don't worry about me. I'm cool. I live right down the street. It's no sweat off my back ever. It's like, oh, I have an hour free that I didn't have I don't have before. I'm not worried about it at all. So don't let that stress you out because of me. Like,
That's cool. I just don't want to plan your time and then back out.
Yeah, shit happens, man.
I don't want to be like disrespectful of your time or anything like that.
You're not, as long as you communicate, we're good. Like, I understand that your situation is not the best as far as like rides go, and you live way across town, so it's kind of like complicated. We could always potential, if it's nice too, we could go meet in a park somewhere close to your house too, if that's easier. Like, I'm open. Like, it doesn't have to be here. It's just, this is nice because it's a really clean environment that is designed.
It's a really nice studio.
Thank you. This is designed for meditation. I've left the walls bare. The most busy thing is behind me, which is funny, but yeah, whatever. So yeah, I was going to run us through a bunch of postures, but we're literally already, like, we have 15 minutes left with running 15 minutes over, because that's how this goes. But really, if you do try any posture yoga, if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And that's rule number one. Like, don't ever force yourself into something if it doesn't feel natural. If something is feeling off, then that's a good point to like bring up to me, like, hey, I'm trying to do this and like it doesn't feel right. Like, what am I doing wrong? And that's where I can help you, because I am knowledgeable about human anatomy and like helping people connect to theirs. But really, there's part of it is you being able to just feel. Oftentimes our body gives us signals of things are right or wrong, and we listen to those signals. And when you don't listen to the signals, guess what happens?
doesn't end up working too well, whatever you're trying, I would imagine.
You just hurt yourself. You end up injuring yourself in time. It's like, repetitive stress injuries come from not listening to our bodies. They also happen in yoga, and it really comes from people not listening to the cues. Sometimes they're subtle. Sometimes it's like a little tingly sensation going down the leg. Sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's not so subtle, but we learn to listen, we learn to cue. I like for people to start off not pushing to their maximum, only hitting about 80% of what their flexibility will allow until they really feel the posture. Yin is really good, but yin is also more advanced because you're holding poses for 4 to 7 minutes, but they're relaxed poses. But still, if you're not too bodily awareness, it's not a good place to start because holding that long naturally, you can hurt yourself. So yeah, we're not gonna worry too much on that today. What else did I have? Hold on. Yeah, dude, that Nadi Shana always clears my head. I was doing it at the beginning of classes, but then I was I couldn't teach. It's can we just lay down for a while, guys? A good little, there is one particular set of exercises that I have up on YouTube that you would be able to do on your own. And we'll go ahead and, it's pretty much spinal flexes. So it's really just working to loosen the spine. We will do a few right now. Bring your hands to your shins. And this first one, we're starting the motion from the pelvis. So as we inhale, we're pushing the spine forward. Exhale, we're rounding it back. Try to relax the legs down, or is that just your tension holding them up like that? Yeah, there you go. That's better, because we don't want to be like that. So just hands on the shins, fingers in front, thumbs in back. Inhale, flex the spine forward, really push your heart open. Exhale, round it back. And just go slow and just feel out your spine. Close your eyes and see if you can feel your tailbone moving. We're inhaling and we're just pressing the heart forward. Exhale, we're rounding it back. It may start as a very small movement, very subtle.
Put the hands on the shins. Is it good or bad to use your hands there to pull?
Oh, you can use your hands to help you, definitely. We're really targeting the low spine here, so make sure you feel your tailbone, feel your pelvis moving. Men tend to be very disconnected from their pelvis. If it's something you have troubles connecting with, I can definitely help. Really power the breath. Should be audible. And create a very slight constriction in the throat to make it a sort of airy sound in the head. And come center. And exhale. Yeah, there are some practices that I think are okay to do in the beginning. See, I'll send you links to those, and just over the next week, before we get together again, just practice them. And if something doesn't feel right, don't do it. But just really notice what your body's doing, and it'll prepare you for getting into a little bit deeper. Probably the best meditation for creating new neural pathways in the mind is Kirtan Kriya, which we will do we have just enough time. So, which Kirtan Kriya, there is a mudra, there is a mantra, and there is also a focus. First of all, put your awareness on the mudra and the mantra, and once you get really comfortable with those, you work on the focus, which the mudra is, the mantra is sa, ta, na, ma. So, sa. Sata nama. It's just sat nam broken up phonetically, which it means birth, life, death, rebirth. It's the cycle. And when we say sa, we're touching index and thumb together. Ta, middle and thumb. Na, ring and thumb. Ma, pinky and thumb. Shoulders are relaxed.
What was the order you were saying that?
Oh, it's sa, ta, na, ma. So we just start with the index finger and go down. We're going to be chanting it out loud, and then whispering it, and then mentally chanting it just in our minds, and then whisper, and then out loud once more.
For all of these different things, how important is it to have your back straight? Is it, or
You want your spine straight. At first, it's going to be hard, so you just work towards having it straight, but whenever it gets tired, allow yourself to round for a little bit and relax it, and then it's a building thing. It takes time. I used to be Call of Duty Miller Lite dude, so
I've always thought with horrible posture, probably largely to do with video game.
Yeah, absolutely. I had video game posture too, and it corrects over time. It takes some time. You don't want to force it. Like if you're really having to push it super hard, avoid it. One thing you can do whenever you're practicing at home is sit up against a wall, and this will just help you sort of feel what's holding and what's not. And another thing you can do is sitting in a chair and just sitting in a chair. It's a lot easier to hold your back straight in a chair than it is sitting on the ground.
I usually, when I've been doing meditation stuff, I'll sit up against a wall just so I can tell when my back is straight versus if it's rounding out, I can feel it against the wall.
Yeah, which you don't want to over push because that can lead to injury. You got to have a gradual opening, which that is where the physical yoga will help you because it'll help you release your, what's holding tension. But yeah, doing the physical yoga is much easier when you're connected with your breath. Because whenever you're connected with your breath and you're not really worried about breathing, you're just doing the postures and the breath comes naturally. But if you're trying to figure out your breath and the posture simultaneously, it's just you see people holding their breath and it's a thing. So sa, ta, na, ma. And as we're doing this, when you get comfortable with it, we visualize the sound coming in through our crown, the top of our head, and out of our third eye. But that's something that get comfortable with the mudra and the mantra. The sound coming in through the top of your head and out through your third eye, which essentially helps connect our pineal to our pituitary gland. And again, the mantra sa, ta, na, ma, and we're index finger and moving down. And we'll just restart. And as far as the different levels, I will cue. So the first bit, we're just going to chant it out loud, and then all of a sudden I'll start whispering it, so just start whispering it with me. And then all of a sudden I'll go silent, so just go silent with me. And then all of a sudden I'll start whispering it again. So just follow along. It is easy enough. Let's close the eyes, focus up and in towards the third eye. Inhale. Sa, ta, na, ma. 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 Sa ta na ma 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 Satanama, 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 Atanama, Satanama, 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 Satanama. Inhale. Exhale. Just relax and breathe. Bring the palms together and rub them. We'll end with 3 satnams and a powerful om. Let's feel the heat and energy drawing into your hands. Press the base of your thumbs to heart center. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Satnam. 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 May we feel secure. May we feel balanced. May we connect to that deeper sense of self-love and carry it with us always. Thank you for joining me today. Satnam. Beautiful. Oh boy. Oh boy. Do you feel you're good?
I definitely feel pretty internally relaxed.
Yeah, it's interesting. And that is a feeling you get addicted to. And that is where, like, how you feel right now, remember it. You know, and whenever you sit down to practice, if you have resistances, just think about the fact that after you get done, you're gonna feel better. Like every time, it doesn't matter how you go into it, like you're gonna feel better. And sometimes, you know, I sit down and I cannot quiet my mind, and it's hard, it's a challenge, but those points, it's really, really important to just do it and press through that shit, and with time, it gets easier. And you know, even those times where I'm really distracted and I just cannot concentrate at all on the yoga or the meditation, I still do it. Because that's part of the practice, is just pushing through it.
Decide to just stick to the practice, even though you are having something like that. The more you learn over time,
Bring yourself to center. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it just takes a bit of consistency, you know, and sometimes even like you can have 5 days in a row where it's just easy, and then one day where you're just a mess and it's a complete it feels like a complete disaster. That's okay. Hello, internet humans.